Hello everyone, I just thought I'd hop in here real quick to tell you all about Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll is the world's largest anime streaming platform with literally thousands of anime for you to explore, including new series such as Demon Slayer, newest One Piece, and more Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, all that good stuff, alongside iconic shows such as Hunter x Hunter, Naruto Shippuden, and a whole host more, alongside some ones that you've never even heard of, but you'll love diving into their worlds and their stories. Fans of the Chibi and Chill Anime Podcast can take advantage of a 7-day free trial so you can dive into as much anime as you'd like without having to properly sign up, and pay. Get a 7-day free trial of Crunchyroll down below using the links in my video descriptions and dive into a world of thousands of anime waiting for you to explore. Hello everyone, welcome back to Chibi and Chill, the anime podcast. Happy Friday, so the weekend is upon us, and as of the time of recording this episode, I've had a new parcel delivered from the Pokemon Center. If you went to European Championships a couple of Sundays ago in February, you could get like 15% off little vouchers to use on the Pokemon Center website up until the end of March. So at the time of recording this, I think there's another week left to use those, and I've made the most of it, if I'm absolutely honest. So I had one parcel arrive, and that had new Vaporeon Pearlescent Funko Pop and some TCG cards, things like that. So tonight, at the time of recording this, I'm going to be going live with some of the Stellar Crown packs. So that doesn't mean anything for you guys right now watching the YouTube video, because that's already been and gone. So if you haven't already, do check me out on social media and see what pulls I got from these. But also do check out my TikTok, because I also treat myself to all 6 of the Shrouded Fable mini tins. So I got all 6, so they kind of make up the little tin image. So I'll be doing a live of opening all of these on Sunday, this Sunday, at the time of this episode going out on the Friday. So do check that out on TikTok Live. I'm going to do a new kind of schedule for TikTok Live. So I'm going to be going live on Wednesday nights and Sunday afternoons. So I'm going to do 2 lives a week, doing either playing Pokemon with me, opening TCG packs, things like that, and kind of really getting a good schedule going for you guys, because the audience is starting to grow now on basically every platform. I've seen a great kind of growth this week on everything. So thank you so much, guys, for all of the support with the Instagram, with TikTok, with YouTube, with TikTok lives. It's been great. It's been so nice to see so much kind of support coming through from other members in the Pokemon community, from you guys, from everyone that's kind of checking out the content that I'm making every day. So thank you so much. So also shout out to this little Gengar Funko Pop that I picked up in Smith's yesterday. So I'm not collecting all of the Pokemon Funko Pops, but I'm collecting either like special ones or Pokemon that were a firm favourite of mine, such as Gengar. So super excited to add him to the little Pokemon shelf down there. You can kind of see it's growing quite a little bit. You can actually see the 2 pearlescent Funko Pops from the Pokemon Center as well there. So there are better videos of that over on my TikTok and my Instagram, so do check those out. But this week, we've got another Pokemon episode. So this week, it's all about Pokemon Go. So we had Pokemon Go Community Day, which was great for Coco fans. I did not manage to catch a shiny at all, and I don't understand how, if I'm absolutely honest. I'm usually really good at catching. I usually get really good luck with catching the shinies on Community Days, but not this time. But that's okay. So this time, it's all about Pokemon Go, but it's actually being sold off for $3.5 billion. $3.5 billion. That is an insane number. So I kind of want to dive into what this means for the Pokemon Go fans like myself that play it in every day or every day, and kind of dive into what it means, who it's been transferred to, and yeah, let's dive into the news of Pokemon Go being sold for $3.5 billion. Be sure to like, subscribe if you're into Pokemon, if you're into anime collectibles, all that good stuff. Thank you to everyone that's already a subscriber and support the show, and let's dive into today's episode. So, Pokemon Go is one of the world's most successful and most popular widespread mobile games, and launched a Pokemon Go craze back in 2016 when it first launched. And I can remember when that happened, and that kind of madness, the Pokemon madness that all kind of appeared from literally nowhere. Everyone that had kind of stopped loving Pokemon up until that point kind of got reinvigorated by it. They kind of started going out, they started really exploring, catching them all, it started like this big nostalgia train and kind of introduced a lot of people back into Pokemon that have maybe fallen out of it or potentially just decided to stop loving it for whatever reason. So it was a insane. I think it launched around the summertime, so it was perfect timing for everyone to go for walks, hatch eggs, and catch as many Pokemon that they knew in their childhood, a bit like me, that kind of grew up with the series and really, really explore the Pokemon world again. And it was produced by Niantic alongside the Pokemon Company, so it kind of like a partnership with Niantic, who specialize in AI games. But this one was the one that really, really put them on the map. I'd never heard of Niantic until this point, but this was the game that really, really kind of catapulted them into the mainstream and household name of kind of software and game development. So it was super, super interesting to kind of. It's kind of interesting when we talk about like overnight success. All of a sudden, Niantic was a household name because of Pokemon. And I feel like that's quite a common thing with Pokemon when there's a partnership between the two companies with Pokemon. You can guarantee that everyone it's going to be a success. Essentially, you can more or less guarantee it at this point. But let's dive in. There is a press release, so we'll dive into that, and there are some more details around the acquisition as well. So let's dive into it. Let's bring up the press release. So with this being a bit of a news, I don't want to kind of say anything wrong or ad-lib too much of it. So I'm going to kind of read through some of the acquisition stuff, and we'll go through some of the details as well. So trainers, this is on PokemonGoLive.com, so the website for Pokemon Go. This one is written by Ed Wu as part of the team at Niantic. So it says, Hi, I'm. No, it doesn't. It says trainers. I'm Ed Wu, and I have the privilege of leading Pokemon Go team at Niantic. Today, I want to share some important news. Pokemon Go will be joining Scopely, a video game developer and publisher home to a wide range of leading games and talented teams around the world. So we'll dive into a little bit of who Scopely is as well. I didn't know anything about Scopely. So we'll dive into who they are as well. So, as it's always important to me and our entire team that our community understands and is excited by the long term vision for this game, I want to share why I believe this partnership with Scopely will be a positive step for all of you and the game's future. I think that is super interesting that they've kind of bolded out that bit as well. I think when we see an acquisition kind of happen, I think it's always kind of interesting when it's something so big as Pokemon Go. I think it's something that it means. I think it can strike fear for a lot of people. I think it can be interesting to kind of see how that's going to make a change, what that change means for the game, and it's got such a beloved fan base that I think any change like this can be a little bit of a shell shock as well. So it's interesting that they bolded that. But they've kind of gone into a little bit more of emotional side here as well. So the Pokemon Go is more than just a game to me, it's my life's work. I've been part of Niantic since 2012 and deeply involved in many of our projects. In 2015, I was the original engineer on Pokemon Go codebase and in 2016 launched the game, working around the clock to make sure that hundreds of millions of trainers could discover Pokemon in the real world together. Like many of you, I have fond memories from 2016, like I've just said, such as bringing home an alpha build to my then 2-year-old daughter, who intuitively, enthusiastically became the first young trainer to ever throw a Pokeball in our game. That's kind of cool. I wonder if she knows that. As an engineer, I've watched the code I've written for Pokemon Go change people's lives drastically for the better. I guess that's kind of true. I guess a lot of people used it for a lot of fitness as well. I think a lot of it became when COVID kind of came around. I think people kind of really took to Pokemon Go again because you could kind of in the UK, you could kind of go outside for like an hour a day that was in your local area, within like a certain radius. I think so. A lot of the time, if me and my partner went on walks, we ended up playing Pokemon Go within that time to kind of just. It was the first time you could kind of go around your house, go outside of your house. So playing Pokemon Go was like a real proper like novelty at that point. That includes my own family, from relatives improving their health from exercising while playing the game, such as that, to hearing so many members of our community recount how they've met the love of their lives through playing Pokemon Go, and experiencing the real life community it fosters. That's why I'm really excited about today's announcement. Here are a few reasons of why I'm confident about the road ahead. I think this is great, Ed. I think this is great. I think it's written kind of strangely. It's written a little bit kind of. I think they're preempting the backlash that this could potentially get, or the scare that this could potentially cause. So I think this is kind of directed in that kind of way, to kind of give people a lot more confidence about this acquisition and about this partnership that we'll find out later on. Scopely, who we'll dive into a little bit later on, Scopely express a deep admiration for the community and our team. I have every belief Pokemon Go will flourish further as part of Scopely, and not only into its second decade, but for more years to come. Under the mission of discovering Pokemon in the real world and inspiring people to explore together, our new partnership, along with our decade long partnership with the Pokemon Company, means we can maintain this long term focus. Scopely fully believes in our mission and ongoing goal to create the best Pokemon Go experience possible. Their focus will be to support our team, providing resources to continue delivering the gameplay you all know and love. I think that's interesting. I think there's obviously the game is really kind of cemented now. There's really key bits of the game like the Pokestops, the gyms, the battles, the raids, that kind of thing. There's a very cemented way of the game. And I think it'll be interesting to see how Scopely kind of take that and run with it a little bit further alongside Niantic and the Pokemon Company. Now that there's kind of three people involved, three companies involved in this game, I wonder how it will change for the better. I don't think it'll change for the negative because we don't know what it's going to look like. And I think that's interesting to kind of keep that in our minds as well. We don't actually know what this will look like. So do keep that in mind as well. We don't actually know what this is going to look like. But the entire Pokemon Go team is staying together through this partnership so no one's losing their jobs. The same people who have been guiding and building the game for years to come, for years will continue doing what they love. We're always continually adding to the game, raid battles, friends, go battles, the leagues, routes, Dynamax, Gigantamax, and of course Pokemon Go Fest at our live events. One thing that will come soon will be terrestrialization. I don't know how they'll do that because it's quite different to the rest of the other Pokemon gimmicks, but I can expect we'll start seeing that kind of gimmick soon. Which I look forward to put my teeth back in. Which I continue to, which I look forward to continuing to do so for many years to come. Scopely empowers their game teams as autonomous groups to go after the roadmaps that they've inspired to pursue. Interesting. And what each team believes is best for the player experience. This approach is extremely appealing to us at Niantic Games. I have spoken to a number of game leaders at Scopely who have given me great confidence in how the company enables each game to independently develop and creatively thrive. So there's obviously more of they're kind of saying that this Scopely has quite a community focus, community kind of way of developing games. So that'd be interesting to see how they kind of run with that and whether that become more of a thing in Pokemon Go. On to the last bits now. So it's quite a long little speech. We'll be joining a broader organisation dedicated to games. I believe that Pokemon Go can continue to thrive with Scopely's exclusive and long-term focus on game making. Scopely's status as a private company also means we can prioritise what's best for you, our trainers, for the long term. So that's interesting. So it may not be on the stock market or something like that. So it's not kind of stock controlled, I guess. It's not publicly listed. So I think that's interesting. I always find that if I've worked for companies that are privately owned, I think they're a little bit more secure, which is interesting. And I think that maybe the same for Scopely. We believe that prioritizing short term gains at the expense of our long term mission would be counterproductive and self defeating. Every interaction I've had with Scopely leaders have reinforced that we are in total agreement on the scale, longevity, and above all, real world community of Pokemon Go. Making it truly special, we are united in protecting that. So, very much focused on the community again. With Scopely's full commitment, experience, and resources, we're going to make Pokemon Go the very best it can be, with incredible battles for thousands of trainers at a time at our live events, and new ways to connect to your friends and community, all while remaining focused on the excitement and experience of discovering Pokemon in the real world. We have invested to empower thousands of community leaders and ambassadors who lead millions of trainers to play together in the real world, and Scopely is in full agreement that this highly admired program will be a priority to invest in together. So that feels like the community vibe and the kind of the ambassadors, the leaders, that kind of thing will be more invested. So that sounds a lot like they're going to expand that, make that better, make that stronger, make that more apparent as well. Because I think a lot of players won't be aware of that kind of ambassador kind of scheme. So I think that'll be interesting, myself included. I didn't know that was the thing. So I think that'll be interesting to see how that kind of grows with Scopely. The real world community that loves Pokemon Go will remain our guiding light in all we do. Very nice. Our partners at the Pokemon Company have always been central to how we build this game together, obviously, because it's their license, I guess, it's their world, I guess. starting with the physics of the first Pokeball throw that we hand-tuned together. I'm incredibly grateful for the daily wisdom, guidance, and careful stewardship of our shared vision for discovering Pokemon in the real world, and I'm very excited that our partnership with the Pokemon Company will continue as it has for the last decade. I won't say that Pokemon Go will remain the same, but it has always been a work in progress, but how we create and evolve it will remain unchanged, and I hope that we can make the experience even better for all of you. So I think it'd be dangerous for them to say the game wouldn't change. I think it will change. I don't know how. I think it'll be for the better. I think it's always interesting when a company takes on some when someone takes on a project with completely fresh eyes and a different take on the project, be it a game or not. I think it's interesting to see how they'll change it because they'll have a different perspective and new eyes, new challenges. There'll be a lot of fresh things, and I think that'll be really, really interesting. I think there could be some great new developments, and I'm quite excited about the change of Niantic to to Scopely. I think there'll be something interesting in there. I don't want the game to change too much because it's what we know, but I think over time, I don't think it's going to change overnight. I think over time, I think it'll slowly change and transform into something bigger and different because I think sometimes it's been going for nearly 10 years, so it could get quite stale pretty fast if they don't do something else, which I think is where Niantic kind of is with Pokemon Go. I have much gratitude for the incredible joy of serving hundreds of millions of trainers in our real world community for the past 9 years, and I truly believe the best is yet to come, Ed. I think that's super interesting. But now that we had the press release, let's kind of dive into a little bit about who Scopely is and this long term vision that they're focusing on with games that they've mentioned. So, Niantic Labs have announced that they'll be selling the Pokemon Go game for $3.5 billion. Yes, $3.5 billion with a B. That is insane. I we obviously know that the game's going to be worth a lot. It's Pokemon Go, but that's an insane number if we really think about it. Scopely is a Saudi Arabia owned mobile developer, and it bought the game for $3.5 billion after struggling to replicate the success of Pokemon Go in its other AR games. I think that's interesting. I don't think I've read a lot of articles about this, and I think a lot of them either have that kind of tone where they bought it because they couldn't beat it, or they bought it because it's part of a long term strategy to kind of have the best of the best within their kind of lineup and their portfolio. I kind of don't like the tone that they kind of bought it because they can't beat it. I don't like that kind of tone, it's kind of negative. But I like the idea that they've bought it because they want to better it and also have it in their kind of portfolio as well. So interestingly enough, Niantic isn't only selling Pokemon Go, so it's also selling other part of its line such as Monster Hunter Now and Pikmin Glue. Nope. And Pikmin Bloom as part of its other titles. I think now when I've had a look into this, Niantic is wanting to start focusing less on games and more into AI focused kind of maps and real world maps that they can kind of create. Niantic was part of a Google team originally, so it's part of a Google kind of spin off a little bit like a branch away from Google. I think that's really interesting that it's kind of circling back into that and working on more of like a real world map AI, AR kind of thing that's not a game. So I think they've kind of had a mass success with Pokemon Go and they've really made their name and their money, to be honest, with Pokemon Go. And I think they want to use that to kind of reform the company and make it into something else rather than making the games. And they sold it to Scopely, who's wanting to actually do the opposite. They're wanting to become Saudi Arabia's leading game developer, and but Saudi Arabia is also wanting to become an industry leader country for gaming. They're wanting to have a lot more of an esports vibe and create a whole host of new jobs for the area, for the region, and become that kind of world leader in gaming and software development. Here on The Verge, it says today's announcement is Saudi Arabia's latest attempt to muscle its way into the gaming industry, having used its Saudi Public Investment Fund to acquire stakes in Nintendo, Activision Blizzard, and EA. The PIF, the fund, was also used to establish esports and gaming company Savvy Games Group in 2021, which was later acquired Monopoly Go, another game I love, absolutely love that game. Developer Scopely for $4.9 billion in 2023. So they're kind of building this portfolio of these really big hitting games to become that kind of leader for the new world leader for gaming, I guess. I do think this new acquisition or this partnership, I guess, so to speak, I think it'll be interesting for the community and kind of see how this game will have fresh eyes on a new take and a completely new region of the world in Saudi Arabia. I think a new team looking at the game couldn't be a bad thing. I have to say, I think a lot of people have been a little bit scared about the acquisition and the partnership. Niantic quickly became a household name because of Pokemon Go, but I think after 9 years, I think they're ready to take a new step, and Scopely is more than happy to kind of buy it for $3.5 billion and take on a new challenge with Pokemon Go and actually inherit the Pokemon fan base, I guess. I think there's going to be a backlash, let's be honest. I think there'll always be a little bit of a backlash when something like this happens with a franchise that's so loved like Pokemon. I think there's always going to be a little bit of risk. Well, as with anything, when there's a little bit of a change, when there's a new evolution or where there's a new Pokeball coming out or a new game that's announced, there's always a little bit of backlash. There's a little bit of backlash now about the starters for Pokemon Legends ZA. There is a video about that last week, so do check that out. But I think there's always going to be a little bit of a backlash, and we can't stop that. But I think change is inevitable, and Pokemon Go is bound to change, whether it's for the better or for the worse in the beginning. Let's see. I think it'll be a little bit strange. I don't think they'll do it all in one go. I think they'll do it in bits and bats to try and really kind of slowly introduce people to new conventions, new tactics, new strategies. I think it can only get better. Pokemon Go is a hugely successful game. We've seen that because it's worth $3.5 billion. I think with it being so successful, they're going to touch it carefully, and they are working with Niantic and the Pokemon Company. They're not just kind of taking over it straight off the bat and firing everyone. They're kind of working with Niantic to work on this beloved kind of game that everyone's worked on and helped grow and nurture for 9 years, and how they can help bring it into new lights. I think there's a lot of new funding into there as well, which I think will make a lot of differences. I think I've heard a lot of comments about the potential new paywalls that will come in. I think that's inevitable when we look at Monopoly Go. If you've not played it, it's a bit like playing Monopoly, but you can play with friends, and it's a little bit like an automated game, kind of. Really, really cool. Do check it out. But I think it's interesting that they've got that. They've started advertising a lot more recently on social media, and that game has a lot of paywalls. It's free to play, but there are a lot of adverts in there. Not particularly the adverts, but adverts for selling their own stuff, selling the packages, selling the booster items, selling the dice rolls, things like that. And I think we'll start to see potentially looking like that with Pokemon Go. I hope they don't do it too much, because if I'm honest, it is a little bit off-putting with Monopoly Go. It is a little bit off-putting. But let's see, I think I'd be interested. I don't know when they'll start the transition to Scopely. I guess it's going to take a long time to kind of transfer it over or kind of share stuff. I don't really know. But I think it'd be interesting to kind of see. I think from summer onwards or even November kind of time, we'll start to see that transition and new features come in. But what do you think as Pokemon fan? What do you think of the transition from Niantic to Scopely? What do you think? What do you think new features are going to come? Do we think anything like drastic is going to happen to Pokemon Go? What new features are going to come out? I'm excited, not particularly nervous, because I don't know how it's going to impact me. If I'm honest, I think I'll roll with whatever change happens in Pokemon Go, and it's never impacted me before. Let's see what comes of it. But let me know in the comments what you guys think of it. Let me know as well if you guys play Pokemon Monopoly Go as well. Let me know in the comments. Be sure to find me on the TikTok lives that I'll be doing every Wednesday and Sunday now. So do check me out on there, because I'll be doing the unboxings, the card openings, that kind of stuff. Do check me out on there every single week, 2 times a week from now on. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Be sure to like and subscribe the channel so you don't miss new episodes every single week, much like this one. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next Friday on the next episode. Thank you. Bye bye, guys.